All right, so our first presenter is Robert Russ. His topic was, or is, exercise program design. His advisor at CBU is Allison Golden, and his community consultant is Dustin Bastion. Robert, whenever you're ready.
When I was in middle school, I was overweight and was very unhealthy. So, the summer before freshman year, I decided that I wanted to change my lifestyle and become more fit for high school. Once I started working out and eating better, I started to see results and gained more confidence in myself and became addicted to exercising. So, this led to my grad challenge of exercise program design, and it gave me the idea of creating a workout plan for my basketball season before our season actually started. But before I could create this plan, I had numerous steps that I had to go through in order to create a well-developed workout plan. The steps consisted of doing research on the muscles that are used the most in basketball, finding exercises that will help improve strength and endurance in these muscles, picking sports-related drills that help simulate these exercises so we can work on our basketball skills as well as working on improving our muscle strength and endurance, and testing it out and seeing how it goes. But before I could do this, before I actually made my workout plan for my basketball team, I did a little mock run with the swim team at the Edge with my community consultant, Dustin Bastion. He does dry land training for the swim team, and he let me create a workout plan for them so I can get a better idea of what I wanted to do for my basketball workout plan. So here's a picture of the swim team. We usually had about 4 to 5 kids at a dry land training session. And with swimming, they do mostly upper body. So here I have them doing a basic push-up to a plank, which is they first start with a plank to work on their core, and they do that for 30 seconds because swimmers use a lot of core strength when they're swimming. And then I'd have them do 10 push-ups, and then they go back into a plank for another 30 seconds. Here I have them working on their back because the back is used a lot when they're swimming with their swim strokes. So here I have them doing a basic bend over fly, which is going to work the muscles in between your shoulder blades. And then lastly, I have them doing a shoulder press here. And this is just going to work on their shoulder strength because they use a lot of shoulder strength when they're swimming in the pool. I had a lot more exercises, but here's just a few that I showed. So when I was researching muscles for my basketball team, I found that the legs are the most important muscles because they're used throughout the entire game, and so is the core. Dustin suggested that I focus on the legs the most because the legs are actually used 100% of the time when they're playing basketball, whether it's jumping, running, rebounding, boxing out, defense. It's always being used, so that's what I focused on mainly, and I threw in some core exercises, but it was kind of difficult. So for leg muscles, I focused on the quadriceps, which are in front of your leg, and these are going to be used for boxing out, rebounding, staying low on defense. The hamstrings, which is behind the legs but you can't see, that's used a lot when you're running. The calves and the glutes, which is pretty much your butt muscles, are used when you're jumping and trying to explode up towards the rim. And then you have your hip abductors and adductors, which are used with lateral movement, which is moving side to side, and that's used a lot when you're playing defense. Also, I wanted to focus on the core because the core is used a lot with balancing and staying upright when you're trying to box out or get position in the post, which is closest to the hoop. So core was one area that I wanted to focus on, but it was kind of a challenge for me because I couldn't mix basketball drills with core exercises. The next step of creating my workout plan was finding exercises and creating a warm-up. I wanted my exercises to be explosive and related to shooting a jump shot or dribbling or staying low on defense. So I had a bunch of exercises that I had to narrow down, and once I picked a couple leg exercises, then I moved into the core exercises. Core exercises were pretty simple. There's a lot of basic ones that you can use: planks, crunches, twists, and there's a lot more, but I couldn't really figure out a way how to incorporate ab exercises in the basketball drills because I had the gym space, so I really wanted to be able to use it when I had it instead of having players on the sideline doing crunches when they could be using the nice hoops in the floor when they're in out of the weather. Next, I had to figure out what type of warm-up I wanted to use for my team. I decided I wanted to do a dynamic warm-up because it helps prevent injuries and it's a good way to get a team loose before their workout session. Dynamic warm-up just involves a series of dynamic movements, and it's going to increase your core temperature, prepares your nervous system for activity, and it also activates the key muscles that are going to be used throughout your workout. Dustin really suggested this too because he uses it a lot with the swim team because a lot of kids on his team gets cramped up or they have tight muscles, so he said it's a great way to get the muscles loose and warm and ready for what they're going to do in their training session. Some of the movements that I used were high knees, which is just running down and back on the court, which is one rep, and what they do is they just get their knees up as high as they can and get them their feet fast off the ground. That's going to work on your quadriceps and loosening up your glutes. I had them do some butt kicks, which is you just kicking your heel up towards your butt and trying to get your feet off the ground as fast as you can. That's going to loosen up your hamstrings. Also, I had opposite toe touches to loosen up your hamstrings because there's a lot of running, so I wanted to make sure the players' hamstrings were nice and loose so they wouldn't tighten up or pull anything. And then I had them do karaoke, which is just let you cross your feet and you go all the way down the court. And the reason why I had them do this was to get their hip abductors and adductors loosened because there's a lot of lateral movement in basketball, which means you're going from side to side, not just forwards and backwards. So I wanted to make sure that they were loose and not going to pull anything when they did that. And then I just had them do a basic jog down and back and then a full sprint down and back to get their heart beating, to get their cardio before we started. The next step was finding sports-related drills. And it was preseason, so a lot of these players were going to be rusty because they played other sports. So I wanted to make sure I had some drills that they could do to work on their strength, but also work on their skills at the same time. So in order to do this, I had to split up the team because there's really two main positions. There's the guards and then there's the post players. And these two groups are totally different, so they needed to work on totally different things. That's why I split them up. So I had the guards work on dribbling and jump shooting. So I had them do the drill called the 2-dribble, 1-move jump shot drill. This drill was basically the players would just start at half court, they'd stay low and explode off their back foot and dribble twice to the 3-point line. And then once they reached there, they made one move of their choice. It could either be like a crossover or through the legs. And then they take one more dribble and push the ball out in front of them and really explode into the paint. But then they had to land on their feet and be balanced because you wanted them to be straight up and down so when they took their jump shot, it was smooth and they weren't all over the place. Post players, I had them work on balance and strength because post players are going to be down near the hoop and they're going to be really aggressive with the other team. They're going to be fighting, using their butt muscles to get position and show chest for the guard so a guard could bounce past the ball in so they can make a move. One drill that I had the post players do was contact post moves, and contact post moves was pretty much having the players go one-on-one, being aggressive with each other, and having a realistic game environment so they could explode up to the rim and finish around the hoop. One important aspect of my workout plan that I wanted to make sure I had was keeping the players always moving so they didn't have time to goof off or didn't have time to get bored. So I created a circuit inside my workout plan. And a circuit is pretty much just a cycle of exercises. And Dustin really likes circuits because he says that you can get the most out of your clients with the most exercises in the shortest amount of time. So for my circuit, I had a few drills that I took pictures of. And the first one was defensive slides, which is pretty much staying low, staying on your toes, and you have to get your butt down, but you have to maintain balance so you can move from side to side or forwards and backwards without falling over. Also, I had them do a wall sit with 2-ball dribbling. This is going to work on your butt muscles and your thighs, which is your quads. And the reason why I had them do this was because you always have to be low and ready to move on defense. So I had them do this, but also I had them doing 2-ball dribbling so they can work on their dribbling skills as well as working on their leg strength. Here I have the players do opposite leg jumps, which is you balance on one foot and you have to explode up into the air sideways and come over and land on your other foot without letting your other foot touch the ground. And this was very difficult for players to do. It was a great workout because it works on their core as well as working on their leg strength because they have to stay balanced so they don't wobble all over the place. And here I had players do wall taps and push-ups, so they jump up as high as they could and tap the backboard 10 times, and then they come down and do 10 push-ups, and then they keep doing that over and over until time is up. And some other exercises I had the players do were box jumps, which is basically they just have a box that they jump up on, and that's going to work on their calves and their leg strength. Also, I had players doing jump roping, which is going to work on their leg strength and their calves as well. And lastly, I had them doing a medicine ball chest pass, which is going to make sure that they have nice crisp passes in the game so they don't turn the ball over to the other team. Also, in my workout plan, I really want to incorporate team drills because team drills are very important. In conclusion, I learned a lot and had a great experience from this grad challenge project. I really loved coaching. I was nervous at times and wasn't quite sure how things were going to go because I didn't know how the players were going to treat me as a coach because usually I'm just another player and play with them. So that was one thing I was really worried about, but overall it went smoothly. My practice was a success and a lot of the players enjoyed it and liked it. I learned that I had to be very flexible because at times you're going to have to change things up on the spot because something doesn't work or someone has an injury so they can't do something this way because it hurts them, so you have to do a little modification so that it fits to their abilities. And pretty much exercise has changed my life forever, and I just really wanted to be able to have other people feel the same way and experience the same things that I did when I was exercising when I was younger. And I just hope that the players